Did you know that human beings think about 60,000 thoughts a day? 60,000 thoughts. And most of them we are completely unaware of, and most of them are negative. What if there was a way for you to deal with your negative thoughts so that you could actually use them to your benefit? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, I'm Heather, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is a place where I coach busy moms who want to double their home-based business in an emotionally healthy, sustainable way. No hustle, no burnout. So welcome here. Today, we're talking about what to do with your negative thoughts. I'm going to walk you through 4 simple steps that I take every single time that I notice my brain is in that negative spin cycle. The first thing I want to say though, before I get into my tips, is that what I am not going to teach you today is how to think positive. So often what I hear being suggested about negative thinking just doesn't work. And here's why. If you've been believing for your entire life that you are unworthy of love, and by the way, a thought like that is created between the ages of 0 and 7. So we are, most of us, living on an autopilot that we have been on for 30 years. But when we try to change a negative thought into a positive one overnight, it just doesn't work. And here's why. Our brain doesn't believe it. We tell ourselves, I'm so worthy of love, when we've been believing our whole life we're completely unworthy of love, and we have no evidence to support it. Plus, we have no belief. We need to actually find a thought that our brain believes even just a little bit in order to override and rewrite that negative thought pattern. So I'm going to walk you through these 4 simple steps so that you can do that, so that you can actually shift your negative thought into one that is powerful and that is going to serve you. Step number 1 is to notice the thought. Notice the thought. Sounds so simple, and yet so many of us have no idea what we're thinking. Most of us don't know any of our thoughts. One of the best things to do is to notice our feelings, because every thought that we have creates a feeling. And if we start to pay attention to our feelings, what we can do is use those feelings to lead us back to the thought that created them. So if you are able to become aware of your emotions, you will be able to become more aware of your thoughts. When you notice that you are feeling crappy, instead of eating that crappy feeling away or Netflixing it away or scrolling it away, actually stop and pay attention to it and go, oh, interesting, I'm feeling really crappy right now. What was I thinking when that started? And what you'll probably notice is that there's usually some kind of trigger event that happens. Somebody says something or does something, or we see something, and then our brain offers us a thought on a subconscious level, and then we have an emotion. The emotion is kind of the manifestation of that subconscious thought. So if you start to notice that emotion, then you can trace it back and actually find the thought that you were thinking. So I did this just today. I woke up early because one of my kids was wanting the blanket covering his feet, and so I ended up picking up my phone and scrolling through Instagram, and before you know it, I was feeling anxious. And so I stopped and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm feeling anxious. I wonder what I was thinking. And I realized that while I was scrolling through all of these feeds, I was thinking about what everybody else is doing in their business and how everybody else is showing up online. And I was thinking, I have been doing nothing lately. I've been taking a break. I've been on holidays. I'm getting behind. My business isn't going to grow because I'm not hustling. And I was like, whoa, that happened so fast. And it happened almost without me noticing. But because I have trained myself to pay attention and be aware of my thoughts, I was able to stop at that emotion and trace it back to my thought and find the thought before it kind of snowballed into a whole bunch of other things. So that's step number 1, is to notice your thoughts. Use your feelings as a way to guide you back to the thought. Step number 2 is to get curious about your thoughts. Some of us, when we notice our negative thoughts, right away we judge them and resist them. We're like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be thinking this way. I'm just going to be happy. I am just going to get my joy on. I am just going to go do something. I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go do something nice for somebody else. All of those things are fine, but they are really just a resistance to the negative thought. If you think of it kind of like a tug of war, If the negative thought is at one end of the tug of war, you resisting it and pulling away in the other direction is still you participating in that negative thought. So now you're just pulling in the opposite direction, but it's still in reaction to the negative thought, which means it's still empowered by the negative thought. So instead, just drop that tug of war rope and have a look at it and get curious about it and go, oh, interesting. I wonder why I was thinking that. I wonder why when I was looking at Instagram and seeing everybody else doing things in their businesses, I all of a sudden started thinking that I was behind. Where did that come from? How does that make me feel when I think that thought? What triggered that thought? These are all questions that, when they are motivated by curiosity and not judgment, are going to teach you so much about yourself. They're going to help you to start to observe yourself and separate yourself from your thoughts. Because the truth is, you are not your thoughts. The thoughts are just words that play across the screen of your mind, but you get to decide what you want to think. And you can actually stop and observe those thoughts and decide whether or not they are serving you. And the best way to do that is to notice them and to get curious about them. The third thing is to remember that all thoughts are optional. Some of us are living at the mercy of our brains, and I want to suggest that you stop it. Stop it right now. If there's one thing that I'm going to tell you to just put your foot down with yourself, it's stop believing that you have no control over your thoughts. You have 100% control of your thoughts, but the only way that you can have that control is if you start to notice that they are just thoughts and you start to really become aware that they are optional. If they are not serving you, you don't have to think them. And here's how I know this is true. Neuroscience says that we can create a new neural pathway in our brains in just 63 days, simply by thinking a new thought and not thinking an old thought anymore. And when we do that, our old neural pathway actually dies and disappears, and our new neural pathway becomes our new default setting. But in order to do this, we need to know that our thoughts are optional. Some people come to me and they're like, Heather, this thought though, I've been thinking this thought for 30 years, or I've been thinking this thought for 50 years. It is such a deep rut in my brain. It'll be impossible to change. And I tell them, no, that is not true. We are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And neuroscience just proves that. It only takes just over 2 months for you to rewire your brain. You could have been thinking a thought for 50 years, and you can change that thought in just 2 months. So if you have been believing that you are a victim to a certain way of thinking, I want to give you the good news. And for some of you, it's hard to hear because you have been so used to playing the victim. You've been so used to feeling powerless in your life. And it's hard sometimes to step up and say, no, I actually created this result, and I am going to create a new result by partnering with a different thought, a thought that is rooted in truth and love. That is your power. That is your free will. It's your ability to decide not just what you're going to do, to decide what you are going to think. And so I want you to know that your thoughts are optional. And if a thought is not serving you, you don't have to think it anymore. That's step number 3. Step number 4 is to decide if this thought is serving you or not. This is a question that I love to ask myself. Once I've noticed the thought and I've gotten curious about it and I've reminded myself that it's totally optional, I ask myself, is this thought serving me? Is this thought helping me to feel powerful, to feel loving, to feel generous, to feel the way that I want to feel? Is this thought empowering massive action in my life? All of our action comes from our feelings, and our feelings come from our thoughts. So look at the thought you're thinking about your business, let's say. Maybe you're thinking, I don't know how to find my people. I don't know where they are. I don't know how to market. I don't know what to do next. How do you feel when you think that thought? Do you feel powerful? Do you feel motivated? Do you feel excited to go out there and try new things and get more information and learn and grow? Probably not. When you're thinking, I don't know, what action do you take? you probably don't take any action, or you probably spin around and feel completely lost in the action that you are taking. So guess what? That thought is not serving you, and you don't have to think it anymore. You can decide consciously, hey, that thought, I don't know, it's not serving me. I'm going to start thinking, what if I do know? What if I know exactly where to find my people? What if I know exactly what to say to them? What if I have the blueprint for my business inside of me already, and I just need to let it come out? How do you feel when you think that thought? Do you feel powerful? Do you feel motivated? What action are you going to take from that place? So this week, I want to challenge you to try these 4 steps the next time you notice your brain on that negative thought spin cycle. First, notice the thought. Second, get curious about it. Stop judging yourself. Nothing's gone wrong. You just have a human brain. It's trying to help you survive. So get curious about those thoughts instead of judging them. Number 3, remember that every single thought is optional. Stop telling yourself that you're a victim. Stop telling yourself you're stuck. You're not stuck. You have the power to change those thoughts. And number 4, ask yourself if the thought is serving you, and if it's not, how can you find one that will? If you like this content, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe, all the things, because we need to help more women to know that they are powerful and to know that they can change their lives by changing the way that they think. And the second thing is come and check out Life Launch. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all of these ideas and we apply them to your life so that you can see transformation in your family, in your business, and in your relationships. And we will see you next week.